this show is a way for me to pick a question from one of you guys on any of our YouTube or Facebook videos, and then I create this live stream to help you achieve your goal, which is working more efficient or save time in AutoCAD. So the lazy question for today's show comes from our friend Douglas. Is there a way to draw a rectangle or any closed shape and have AC fill it solid so it can be placed in the order is view, not see-through? Thanks, and that was our friend Duke. So as you can see on the diagram over here, let's quickly inspect this. Basically what he's talking about is there a quicker or more efficient way to draw this framing and kind of hide the behind items so he can achieve something like this. So how can we kind of automate this process instead of hatching each rectangle? So let's see. So to start, I created something really quick here to simulate the diagram of our friend. So what we can do is let's use the multi-line command. And for that, we're going to create a multi-line style. So let's do that by opening the multi-line style like so. That's the command that we can use to create a new style for a multi-line. So as you can see, I have many different styles so far, but we need to create a brand new for our friend because he is specifically asking for a way to hide items behind this multi-line. So let's create one starting with the standard that AutoCAD usually give us, right, to start with. And I'm going to create a new from this standard. Let's call it something like framing, maybe. Again, you can pick a name you like, but keep things simple for the tutorial purposes. So I'm going to call this framing and then continue. So over here, again, the good thing of starting with something already, which was the standard multi-style, is that it kind of gives us already some information, so we don't have to do this from scratch. So what I like to do here is move my window dialog box over here so I can have a preview of what I'm doing, right? So I'm going to move it right here. Okay, so 0.5 would be the top line over here and minus 0.5 would be the bottom line. So those numbers are fine right now because if we add this up, it will give us a 1-inch thick framing, right? And again, we can customize the size as we wish later on. So I'll show you that too, but it's nice to keep it at 1 inch for now. So the next thing I like to do is, since our friend Duke, as I can see the diagram that he sent us, he likes to have the framing close over here at each end. So I can do that over here by clicking the caps. So of the line, if I click start, you can see that it will close my multi-line over here. So that's what we want. And as well for the end, I'm gonna head or check this so that way I can have it close at both sides. All right. So that's all I really need for this. I can add a description here. Again, that's all up to you. You can add framing or whatever. So I'm gonna click OK to finish this up. And the final step is, of course, to make this current. So I'm gonna click simply set current and then hit OK. All right, so that was the first step. We simply created a multi-line style, but how can we hide the items behind the framing? That's what we need to add. That's an important step. So let's go back to the multi-line style. Multi-line style again. So what we need to do is, of course, modify our framing our framing multi-line, and we need to find an option here that somehow add a pochette or a solid that can, of course, hide whatever is behind. So there is an option here called fill color. So let's try that out. And what we can do here is select a color. So to simulate again mask, we can try, let's see, the true color, and we're gonna try the white true color, which is 255. So that would simulate a true white color. So of course we can do this by also going to the index color and pick white. Once we do that, we can go to true color and then simply click OK. Right, so we added a fill color over here. So let's see how well that works. Let's click OK and then click OK. So that was the first step. Very simple or very straightforward. We need to create a multi-line style. We added it a solid mask with a true white. And let's go with the step number 2. There are 2 steps over here, and the third step would be, of course, test these tool or command that we're going to create. So the second step is, for that we're going to use our tool palette. So of course we can draw the multi-line by simply typing the shortcut ML, right? The multi-line, and let's test it. So let's test it. Let's click like so, and then click like so. So nothing fancy so far. We simply created a multi-line style over here. But what we need to do now is how our friend Duke can use this multi-line on any drawing. Because let me show you, if I create a new drawing really quick from the AutoCAD icon and say new drawing, and of course I pick a template, in this case Imperial Architecture, because I'm in the United States and Imperial is my unit. So over here, of course, if I type my multi-line command, I wouldn't be able to have my framing multi-line because this is a new drawing. My multi-line style doesn't exist on this drawing. So let's check that out. Let's confirm it by using the multi-line style. And as you can see, we don't have the framing, so that's a problem. So let's see how can we fix that. All right, so then the second step that we need is, let me erase this multi-line, of course, because we don't need it, was to create a new drawing and simply copy our new multi-line framing style. So I'm gonna copy that with Control C, go to the drawing one and paste it with Control V. I like to place it at the 0,0 origin point. All right, so we need to save this drawing and store it. So I'm gonna quickly save it with Control S. I'm gonna store it in a location where I can remember. How you name it is very important because we're gonna need it for when we create our command, right? Framing multi-line, just remember that. And let's click save. Right, now we can close this, we don't need it anymore. But what we need is the folder where we save this before we forget, right? So I save it over here, and here it is, framing multi-line. So we're gonna come back to here in a moment, but let's keep moving. All right, so all we did again was to save our multi-line style to a brand new drawing. So let's create the command now. So in order to do so, we could use the macros palette, the new command macros, right, that AutoCAD just introduced, I believe, last year. So but there would be a problem. Let's say my friend Duke used an older AutoCAD version, 2018, 19, or whatever. He wouldn't be able to follow along. And I'm guess many of you too also might be using an older AutoCAD version. So let's not use this for now, and let's use our tool palette. So I'm gonna open it with Control 3, and everybody have the tool palette, so you don't have excuse to save time in AutoCAD. So simply to create this tool, I'm gonna draw a rectangle really quick. You can drag a rectangle, a polyline, a text, anything to your tool palette, but I'm gonna draw a rectangle. like so. And over here we can right click and change some of the properties. So let's call this new command or tool something like framing. So we need to somehow change the macro code for this command. So as you can see, the command string, it's locked right now. It's not a problem. Let's change the use flyout to no, and that way we can change this command macro string. So what we can do is remove this because we don't need it, but we need a CC because that's a way to let AutoCAD that we are canceling or stopping any command that is currently being used. So we want to do that to avoid conflicts. So let's keep the CC over there. And what we can do is start adding some basic commands, right, in this command string, so that way we can quickly add our multi-line style. So the way I'm gonna do it is using the insert command, right, in AutoCAD. So following by a semicolon that will represent an enter. This is a way to, let's say you are on a command line here in AutoCAD and you will type insert, and then what happens when you say insert? Well, we can specify a path that we want to insert, and the path would be where our line style is. So let's simply click here on the top so we can copy that path, right, where our new multi-line framing is located. And let's go here and let's insert that by simply pasting it, right? So let's do that. Let's expand so you can see better. So that's our path. And one important step here that we have to do is we need to change the forward slash for the back one. So I'm going to start doing that, erasing. And this is because AutoCAD won't recognize this path if you don't do this. So that's all. So I'm changing the forward slash for the other one, the one that goes back. Okay. So far that's our path. And then what we need to do is, after this, of course, we need the name of our drawing where we stored our new multi-line style. So let's go back to our Windows folder, and that's the name. I'm gonna simply press F2 to copy that. And the important part here is to copy it with the DWG file extension. So I'm gonna simply copy that out and go back to the command and simply add a slash and then paste the name of our multi-line where our multi-line is stored. So far here we need to accept all of these with an enter, so a semicolon. And then what we need to do is, of course, we can set a layer, right, for this framing. So that way we can facilitate our friend Duke live. I don't want him to be able to place their objects on layers and so on. So let's try to help with that. So what we can do here is, let me expand this over here. And so I'm going to copy one of these C's over here, simply, right clicking on it and saying copy. And let's go out over here and I'm going to paste it by the end of this code, like so, paste. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to insert this multi-line and style like physically. I only want to insert it on the back. That's why I'm canceling the insertion of this multi-line style. So it doesn't show up physically on my drawing, but it will still be live on the back of this drawing. So I can use it at any time. So that's simply what we'll do. And then I'm gonna, of course, add my layer. So for my layer, I'm gonna simply use the LA shortcut. And of course press enter. That would be a way to type layer at the command line. And after we type a layer over here on the command line, AutoCAD usually asks us, what would you want to do? So I want to create or make a layer. So that would be M for make, and of course an enter. So I want to make a layer, and the name of my layer would be whatever our friend Doug wants or whatever you want it to be. In my case, I'm gonna simply say framing layer, whatever. This is just for an example purpose. So framing layer, and of course you need to accept that with another semicolon or enter. So now he might also want to pick a color, right, for his framing. So it's not only enough to pick a layer, but we might need a color. So for the color option, let's type C and enter again. So that way we can let AutoCAD, hey, we want a color, right? And what color? Who knows? That's all up to you. But for this example, I'm gonna say red and press enter. So red, again, that's a simple color, but we need to accept all of these settings. Color, we need to accept layer, and so on. So we need a couple more of enters in this case. I'm gonna press 1 and 2 times enter. So that will give us the option to set a layer, set a color, and insert our multi-line styles. So the final piece of code that we need is, of course, activate our multi-line. So I'm gonna do that by simply adding this underscore that tells AutoCAD, hey, we're gonna activate a command. So that's a way to let AutoCAD know that. So the command would be multi-line, and of course following by an enter. So what happened when we type that command over here on the command line? AutoCAD will ask us some questions. So some of the questions are, okay, so what style you want to use? So I want to let AutoCAD the style. I can type style or simply ST. The style that I want to use is, do you remember that style that we just created? So it was called framing. So framing, and I'm going to press enter, of course. So if you're not sure about that, you can of course always go back to your drawing and simply open it. But from what I remember, we name it framing to this new multi-line style. So let's keep with that. So framing, and after that, AutoCAD from the command line, if we type multi-line, will ask us also, so what name would be? So we already saying framing, and then what scale you want your multi-line to be. So the scale shortcut, of course, would be SC, or you could type scale too. So the scale for this specific example of our friend Duke, usually I'm guessing it would be 2 inches. We'll have framing 2x6, 2x4s, and so on. So I'm gonna say 2 for this example, for the scale, and press enter, of course. Again, Duke, you can pick your frame exact number, might be 1.5 inches, but I'm picking 2 inches right now for standard size. So let's see, after this, AutoCAD will also ask us for the justification of our multi-line. We want the multi-line to start from the left, from the side, from the middle. So that's all up to you. So for this specific example, I'm going to say J for justification and press enter. And then I'm going to say Z and enter for 0. That's all up to you. You can pick top, but I will pick 0 at this time. That's a personal preference. Nothing really will change. So at this point, let's test our command, right? Framing. We could also add an image over here by simply right-clicking on it and say specify image. You could also add a description over here. That's all up to you. Again, let's click OK for now. And let's see now. Let's test it. This is the moment of truth. So everybody probably stay till the end to see if this works. Let's do that. So let's first go to a brand new drawing to test it. So let's go here, new drawing, right? I'm gonna pick an Imperial architecture. Let's see. So right now, if we of course don't have the multi-line style, we can see that if we use it, right, we will have a regular multi-line standard. And let's try our command now. So framing, let's click on it, and boom, we have a problem right here. So that's one of the reasons why we need to test these things out, because we might have errors like this where we can see that the error says we cannot find file in search path my DWG. So let's quickly investigate what happened there. So let's go over here on tool or command, let's change or click properties, and let's see what's going on. So it's not recognizing our path for our folder. So let's try something really quick, which is sometimes AutoCAD cannot recognize path and have problems recognizing them. So a good way to kind of fix this is place our entire path in this, how do you call these, comillas, but let's try that. So let's put our entire path on this, I don't know the exact word in English, but comillas is how I know it anyway. So let's make sure you select the last part, and let's try to add this character. So, and let's test it again. Let's click OK. So let's click framing, and let's click boom, boom, and here we go. It works beautifully. And so you can see now that on any drawing that we create, it can be an existing drawing, it can be a new drawing, we're always going to have our command framing ready for us to work. So let's quickly now finalize this by testing it on our friend diagram, on our friend do. So let's click on it, and if we go and start here and go all the way up, and then we will see that it will hide whatever is behind beautifully. Let's do the final test, which is do a preview, right? And awesome, my friend, here you have it, Duke. Hopefully this will simplify your life in AutoCAD, and for you guys also